Okay, guys, long time no see. What are we talking about today? We're talking about confidence. Yeah, it's a topic I've been trying to improve, and I guess a lot of you are trying to, especially men, because as a man, you want to be confident. You don't have to be rich, you don't have to be good looking, but you have to be confident if you want to succeed. If you want to have a wife, have a girlfriend, have a wife, and have women attracted to you, you have to be confident. All right? And how to be confident, bro? It's a tough question. And it's a long journey, though. And today, let's talk about it, okay? Let's talk about confidence, okay? I'm really not talking about it, I'm just imitating. I'm just repeating after a speaker, and he will talk about confidence today. And the title is Super Confidence. The speaker is AJ Hope. This is from Effortless English Podcast. Here we go. Confidence. Confidence. This is the number one thing my students want. This is to speak English confidently. And I think in so many areas of life, we, people in general, are seeking confidence. Not perfection. Confidence. What is confidence? We should talk about the word. What is confidence? Why is that important? Why do we want this so bad? Why are we so attracted to this? Really feeling, right? This quality, this feeling. We could think of confidence in terms of the negative definition, meaning what is not. Confidence is the absence of, meaning you don't have, nervousness, fear, uncertainty, worry, embarrassment. Right? These are all opposites. So when we don't have these negative emotions, in some area of our life, we could think that we have confidence, so you can choose any area, any activities, especially difficult ones, and to think, let's say public speaking, giving a speech in front of a group of people. For most people, this creates feelings of nervousness, extreme nervousness, fear, and some people very strong and negative emotion of terror, right? Super fear. The opposite of confidence. And so many times what people say they want, what they're looking for in public speaking is just confidence. They just want to be able to stand up in front of a group of people and talk about the subject that they know without feeling fear, extreme nervousness, terror, embarrassment, all of these things. Right? Right? So for most people with public speaking, for example, they're not trying to become professional public speakers, right? Most people have to give a presentation at a job or maybe their conference or something there for their career. just want to stand up there, talk about their work, talk about their topic. They're confident in a confident way. Most people, if they're giving a speech about something, well, then they know the topic, right? You don't usually give speech about things we have no idea about. Man, why would we do that, right? Why would you talk about a topic that in front of a group of people that you knew nothing about, right? So if you're speaking at a conference, or speaking at a seminar, it's just speaking at even at your job, a business meeting, you're doing a presentation. I mean, almost always the topic would be something you actually know well. In fact, in this way, when we take a public speaking course or classes, it's actually quite sometimes unnatural situation, because often it gives you a topic that you are either not very interested in and maybe don't know so well. Then sometimes give you a topic that when you gotta go research it and talk about it, I guess it can happen in the real world. Things like that do happen sometimes, maybe at a job or something. But it's most of the time, you're asked to give a speech because you know what you're talking about. You have already some information or some experience to share with people, and they recognize this, and so they invite you to speak. Maybe it's about a paper or article you wrote, or maybe just some area of your career job that you know well. So because of that, you think logically, take away all emotions. In those situations, you should be able to stand up and talk in a very relaxed way, with total confidence, no fear, no worry, because it's a topic you know. But for most people, just having a group in front of them, especially a group of people they don't know or don't know well, certainly makes them feel, fear, worry, nervousness. They remove all the confidence, even though it's a topic they know. Similar for a job interview, because in the job interview, what's the topic? You just there to talk about yourself, and connected to whatever job you're trying to get. So again, you should be able to talk about yourself quite easily. So it's a topic you probably know the best in the world, and yet we become super nervous in that situation. And then when people become nervous, it's like when people lose confidence, then the performance goes down. So even though you might know a topic very well, like might even an expert, a world expert on that topic, because of the nerve, it's standing in front of a group of people, you're not able to talk well. Suddenly you look like an idiot, suddenly, in front of a bunch of people, even though you know much more about that topic than they do. And we've seen in sports too, many times. Many times in sports, the more confident team or person or player will beat a more skillful person or player who has less confidence. I've seen this so much is in martial art. Let's say have something like boxing, karate, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, anything like that. I'm sure it happen at the professional levels. Usually at the professional, they're quite confident, but it happens all the time at the average level, the average person, maybe in the jiu-jitsu gym or boxing gym or something like that. or you can have someone who's more beginners, but they're just confident. Sometimes why was so confident? Why they're they're not even that good, but because they're so confident, right? They have no nervousness, no fear at all. They perform much better. They're just aggressive. They attack. They keep going. They don't quit. They don't hesitate. And because of that, they can often beat more experienced people, people who actually have more skills, but who are less confident. They're more timid. They're more worried. They're more nervous. They hesitate. They don't perform their skills well because they lack confidence. And so in the positive side, confidence, we can define it or talk about it as certainty in your own ability, a kind of certain optimism, or you just have a strong belief that you're good enough, with a strong belief that you will succeed or can succeed. A strong belief that a good outcome is certain, is going to happen, you're going to do well. And when you have that feeling deep inside, that belief deep inside, then you don't think too much, you don't worry, you don't analyze yourselves too much, you don't hesitate, you wait and stop and I'm sure. You call it second guess. You don't second guess yourself, meaning you're not constantly. You don't have doubts. This is often my problem in jiu-jitsu. I wasn't confident because I wasn't confident. I was tired. I couldn't keep up with a lot of people, but just didn't have the energy to go hard and still be able to go home and recover and have energy for the rest of the day and make with my kids. And I have two problems in jiu-jitsu. One of them was just confident. I decent enough experience. I've watched tons of instructional videos and knew tons of techniques. But it wasn't aggressive. I had to just go and attack and just go. That's what a lot of the guy who did well, who might have less experience than me, but they beat me, right? Badly. It's like, just attack, go, never stopping. No hesitation, no doubts. They weren't thinking all the time. They just, they had confidence, and it makes a huge difference in life. You see, with dating, with relationships, right? The guys, so often, guys, young men, even older men, who struggle with girls, with women. By struggle, I mean they want to have a girlfriend, they want to get married, and they just can't, seems to do it. And sometimes they get quite bitter and upset about it. Nice to be around a lot of guys like this, and they'll blame. They gotta be rich, they gotta be handsome, you gotta be strong, big, and blah blah blah. All these excuses for a while. The girls aren't attracted to them, but the truth is confidence, because you can find many examples of confident guys who they just walk up to girls and just start talking to them, they socialize with them, socializing with no fear, no hesitation, not second guessing, not worrying. They're not worrying. And no, every girl would not attract to them, would have no problem talking to girls and get going on dates and eventually getting girlfriend, getting married, and they're not handsome and they're not rich. But they are confident. And you can also find example of guys who have plenty of money, but they don't have the confidence in that area of life with women, with girls. And so they really struggle. And the same too, handsome guys. Just being handsome isn't enough. A really handsome guy, okay, that looks like a model, yeah, he can probably attract girls. You may struggle, just go ask them out, just to connect with them, socialize with them. So you may still struggle in this area of life. Confidence is key. And confidence, one of the things that makes confidence so important is that it can compensate for, what does that mean? It can compensate for lower skill. It can compensate for being a beginner. It can compensate for other weaknesses that you have. Meaning it kind of balances out those weaknesses, it balances out those problems. Even though you may have a bunch of other problems, if you strong confidence, you can overcome those weaknesses just with that confidence. I mean, I remember this like famous jiu-jitsu guy, Gordon Ryan. This is the fighting now, but he's YouTuber, the number one guy in the world. I remember I read some stories about him, and one of the things people said about him, we knew him, like when he was young, which is a kid, coming to the gym, like a blue belt, just starting out. And he worked hard, he was just super enthusiastic. And but he wasn't the best in the gym or anything, right? But what they did say that from the beginning, even as he had this crazy amount of confidence, he just believed he was great and he wanted to become great. He had total confidence in himself. I mean, really almost being arrogant, which is a kind of negative word, which means you think you're super great and better than you are. But some area of life, it's actually can be quite useful to think you're better than you are. You actually cause you to perform better. And so a lot of people said that people who trained with Gordon Ryan when he was young, before he became a champion, that this kid was just crazy confident, kind of annoying in a way, which is so confident, but like it gave him incredible motivation and power, and it performed quite well. It had no fear. No fear of losing, no fear of looking foolish, no fear of making mistakes. No fear of making mistakes. The same with your English. You don't need to be perfect in English. Nobody is perfect. I make mistakes occasionally in speaking. And certainly everybody make mistakes in writing. When they're writing, especially like the first draft. You need to be understood, and you need to understand the person you're talking to generally. That's the basic skill level you need. But beyond that, what you really want is confidence. Do not think about grammar. Do not be worried about mistakes. Do not be embarrassed. Do not be shy. To just talk and communicate confidently. That's all you need. That's plus basic fluency. And in language too. Many times people who are just kind of crazy confident, even as beginners, they improve faster because they're not afraid to try and not afraid to communicate. They jump in. My friend Joe was like this when we traveled in Spain. We did the Camino de Santiago together. I knew quite a lot more Spanish than him, simply because I took Spanish in school, in high school, for a year, and in university for a year, and that I've done a lot of listening and reading, but it wasn't so confident. And maybe to go back to my school days, there's something about it where, I kind of would just, still had like grammar rules in my head, and had to force myself to try to overcome that. So I get a little bit shy sometimes speaking to people in Spain. I still spoke like a decent amount. I got around and hotel reservation and nice simple conversation with local people. It was great. But his confidence was higher than mine, so I knew much more vocabulary than him. I probably understood better than him, and my listening was better. But he was super confident, even though he knew less Spanish than me. Joe, super extrovert. He just rocked, like talk everywhere he goes. He just talk to strangers. Like, that's the thing. I'm an introvert. I never talk to strangers. Almost never, unless they talk to me. So, but he'll just go to the restaurant and talk to people at the next table. Then he's just that kind of guy. So in Spain, he's taking what's the Spanish and just constantly, hey, dad, just chatting with anybody he can all the time. So his performance, his actual amount of speaking, even his fluency, how well the word will come out with his mouth and how natural it was better than mine because of his confidence. If we took Spanish instead, I would get a higher score. Or at least at that time, it was 10 years ago. But at that time, for sure, we take any Spanish instead, my score would have been much higher than this. But in the real world, talking to people, he did better than I did because he has more confidence. No nervousness at all. Okay, this is the first half. We're gonna do the second half tomorrow. See you tomorrow night.